Alright. Hey guys, how you doing today? I just could not stay away from this. I went down such a rabbit hole, and we are here talking about Destiny 2 State of the Game, August 3rd article. This article has caused a uproar in the Destiny 2 community, and I like I said, I just couldn't stay away. I have to talk about it. I have my Steam hours played on here. You could see we were rapidly approaching 3,200 hours. I was an avid player. Sherpa from my Destiny clan. I got a whole bunch of titles under my belt. We've done Spire the Watcher, Solo Flawless. We've done... This is the champ title, I don't care about that. We've done pretty much everything in the Root of Nightmares. I think I'm missing a few, like, one-off challenges here. But I've done the Master Raid for Root of Nightmares, not a very big challenge, but we've done Master Vault of Glass as well. We are a Fate Breaker. I have a number of other things here to show you. You know, we have a ton of crafted weapons. Yeah, I have all these extra things stored for when the Deep Side Harmonizers are a real thing. I even farmed for this Subsistence Incandescent Bug Out Bag. You know, I have every exotic armor, every exotic weapon that's available. Hundreds of Vault of Glass, many raids under my belt. We got a 30-minute fucking Deepstone Crypt here. You know, I got plenty of dungeon clears. 81 Pit of Heresies, 93 Shadow Thrones, 66 Prophecies. The Pit of Heresy is probably farming, but this is not. I've done Solo Flawless on a number of dungeons, and you know, 309 Grandmasters in Season 14. You can see I took a long break. 75 in Season 20. 17-minute runs here. We get 13 minutes run for the Disgrace. 11 minutes for Inverted Spire. I play this game a lot. I play it a lot, and I play it to a very high level for the PvE content. I don't have a PvP record up here because I don't really play a whole lot of PvP. I have a few flawlesses under my belt, but that's pretty much it. So, what I want to talk about today, and I have some notes over here, so if you see me looking over here, I'm just brushing up on my notes. But I wanted to show you and start off because I haven't done a lot of Destiny content on this channel, or any at this point. This is the first thing I'll be doing, if I decide to do any at this point. But I had a lot of fun build crafting, you know, and I had basically stopped playing since week 2 of Season of the Deep. And for 2 reasons. One, fishing. Like, why? I'll go more into that later, but, like, I can't believe that one of the major seasonal activities was fishing in a first-person shooter video game. And then the second thing is, well, I pretty much beat the season. So, let me pull this up. Hold on. I was level 100 in less than the week. We got to 116. Me and my clan farmed out pretty much everything. Let's see. Paint can is pretty notable from Last Wish when it came out. And so that was something that, you know, we just completely went apeshit for. We decimated Kali. It was a great time. We were shooting the shit with the boys, and we just kind of cleaned her out, and that allowed me to get literally every single weapon from the season, every single season weapon, every single Last Wish weapon, and I never really felt like there was more to the game. And we're going to go into a lot of details about everything that's talked about in this article. So we're going to just pull this article back up, and you know, it's time that I Sherpa you through this article and hopefully to a reality check with what this is actually saying. So there's a lot of obla in here, and we're going to skip a lot of it, addressing feedback, ritual updates. They're doing some changes. Sure, any new content is always welcome. You get thumbs up for adding new content all the time. That's what you do. We give you money, you give us new content. You're going to hear a lot of this tone with this article because I just put out a video about Diablo 4, doing something similar with all of their updates. They are way more apologetic, but I am so sick of developers acting like doing their job, what they are asking us for our money for, is a problem. And so we're gonna go through this tone. This tone is going to be the tone of this article. I'm setting it now so that you guys know what to expect while watching the rest of this video. It's not going to be nice. I'm not going to be nice, and I'm going to keep as level-headed as I possibly can. But towards the middle of it, we might get a little heated. There's some hot takes in here, the whole nine. But this is relatively welcomed. This is a positive. We'll give them a thumbs up for this one. You're giving us content. That's why we pay you. We give you money for the content that you release. So, this is how we're making, core rituals more rewarding, yada yada. Good. Thank you. They should be more rewarding. They should be a lot more rewarding. This is a step in the right direction, but if they doubled this, it still wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. I don't need, like, drip-fed loot on top of my drip-fed content. So let's kind of go down to some more of this stuff here. That will start with my notes. Guardian versus Guardian. I'm not going to read this. We're not going to read pretty much any of this, but I'm going to point out a few points here. So what this states is they've literally admitted to not having a dedicated team for PvP, which was a heavy speculation in the Destiny 2 community. It's true. They blatantly said, you guys are right, we don't have the resources for this because we don't have a team. They specifically state that when they do focus on our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with a trade-off. It comes with a trade-off. We didn't define Destiny's core game modes. Not me, not you, unless you're a developer watching this. Otherwise, hi, hello. I'm glad we're having this conversation. We did not define this as players. You decided it was going to be Vanguard Strikes, it was going to be Crucible, and when you added Gambit, it was going to be Gambit. You decided this. Why is there a trade-off between any of these three modes? These are things at core that you decided were the most important things in your game, and you're telling us that you can't focus on one of them, regardless of if it's new maps, or new content, or updated security, whatever it is, you're telling us you can't focus on them without a trade-off of multiple, not one, multiple teams. Not like, okay, Joe and Reggie have to go work on a map now. You're saying you are taking people off of multiple teams' bandwidth, and they're talking about, those people that they would be taking off contribute to a variety of other experiences like, new story, new exotic content, core activities, etc. Let's break this one sentence down. All of this has now become irrelevant. The existence of this sentence, where does it start? The existence of this sentence now makes the rest of everything they're saying irrelevant. Just like when they vaulted the Destiny content, the Destiny 2 content, not Destiny 1, the Destiny 2 content that everyone paid real life money for, not Monopoly money, and took it away from those paying consumers. It's not like they were handing out, the money back when they vaulted it. They were like, oh, thanks for letting us borrow your money. No, you paid for Forsaken. It's gone now. It's absolutely gone. Nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. Can't play it in an offline mode. You don't have access to it. Red War, you bought that? Doesn't matter. This is now what we're talking about. So let's hone in on this PvP section for a little bit, and then we'll go over to the Gambit section. But I'm going to come back to this because they reuse this sentence in the Gambit section. But let me talk to you about Destiny PvP. So I used to play Destiny PvP. I'm going to read some stuff verbatim for you here. I used to play Destiny PvP all the time, Destiny 1. I don't think that the way that game was played really needed to change much at all when it comes to PvP. I loved playing in Destiny 2, Year 1. It's crazy, I know. But the slower game style, the more skill-based, felt really good. Like, I was a big Halo PvP player, so like using a lot of like battle rifles and the varying style of combats felt really good. Double primary felt fine to me. I think I missed like sniping and some like fusion rifle kills, but not so much shotgun kills. Sorry for the thing. Let me just mute my phone until we go through the rest of this video. Okay, so I just think that Destiny 1's game mode style was fine. I really do. And if I remember correctly, the special ammo bins were laid around strategically around the map. And they were on the wall, and you would go up and you would grab the special ammo, but it was limited to like one player. But they were like timed, and the maps would be rotating just like any other first-person shooter game. Like as the team that was winning kind of like cleared out your team, then you would spawn on the other side, and that's kind of how FPS arena shooters kind of work. And so this was good. What this built was you have your one heavy ammo section that's heavily contested. You want to have control over that for when it spawns, but you have these little other alleyways and very small, minor contested areas where, me and Joe want to fight over the special ammo bin because it's spawning in 10 seconds, and now I want to do it, and we move over there. Like I want to be able to use my shotgun or sniper, and then you're rewarded with a little bit more shots because now you've won that engagement and you've picked the ammo up. I love this. This was very map defining, and then they can use that to help build the structures around the map, and that was really, really cool. So that's what I liked about the Destiny 1 version of PvP. Now Destiny 2 is fine, in a way that I feel like most of the time people are just using special weapons for pretty much everything, and then sometimes you'll have primary gameplay in there if your ability's not off cooldown. So they're very two different dynamics, and now we're encapsulating different people that are coming together here. I'm moving my hands a lot like this, and I'm sorry about that. But essentially here, let me just read this here. So you primary until special, then depends on when special was grabbed. It started a new timer, like I was mentioning. I feel like that's what Bungie does best. That's what they did in Halo. It feels like they took that Halo PvP map design and translated it perfectly into Destiny 1 PvP. Like the rocket is contested in this very known alleyway, and then you have like your shotgun over here, your swords over here. You got one sniper on each end are in these mimicked corners of the map, and like that's what Halo did really well. That's what Bungie did really well in Halo, and so they perfectly translated that to D1 PvP. That's how I feel about it. That could be a hot take. I don't know about that one, but I just feel like it's evolved into something that I'm no longer the target audience for, and that's fine. But I will say, I do want to love Destiny PvP, but I personally think that it's just an absolute joke when it comes to like cheaters and whatnot. Like just the fact that your gameplay can feel night and different with those cheaters. But I will say that the gameplay is smooth. I like the ability and builds that you can go through. The standard game modes are fine. I think they're just standard for your typical arena shooters. I have even gone a couple times flawless. I think I have like 6 or 7. You can look me up if you want. It's Jacket. It's my name for everything. And yeah, when I play Destiny PvP, it feels very jarring sometimes. I'll play right after a ban wave, an announced ban wave, or they update BattlEye. They'll go through and they'll make these like crucial changes to security, or they'll fundamentally change how some things work in the back end, breaking some of these like cheat softwares, and then the game feels completely different. You go in there, people don't know how to aim, they don't know where you are, they don't know where your elevation is, they don't know if you're jumping or they don't know anything, and it feels very organic. And then the other 95% of the time when I load up the Destiny PvP, I feel like whether I am sliding, jumping, crouching, walking, cartwheeling, emoting on the other side of the wall, I feel like someone knows exactly where I am, the exact elevation that I'm at, and it doesn't feel right, because when I come around that corner, I don't know where they are at. It takes me about maybe less than half a second to register where they are and move my mouse. So we're talking like 0.0, we're talking milliseconds amount of adjusting to, okay, I see something, let's move it there. Milliseconds of this. I wouldn't consider myself slow by any means when it comes to any of these game styles. And if I am the benchmark for an average player, then I should be losing by maybe 1 bullet every fight when it comes to hand cannons. A few missed shots here or there if we're using like an auto rifle fight or SMG fight, something along those lines. But if if the millisecond that I move out and someone has already shot me, it doesn't feel good. It feels very odd because a few things have to happen for that to happen. They have to either already be aiming, which means they don't have radar. They have to know exactly where I'm going to be and how fast I'm coming out of that behind cover where they shouldn't be able to see me. And I know there are a few things in the game that can do that, but these things, it's not something that a typical person might pick up on. But when you're more in tune with like how a lot of games play, pre-firing ends up becoming a thing. But when you're pre-firing, it's usually with like an automatic weapon. We're talking hand cannons where they have 2 shots by the time I've moved there because they've already known that I was going to be in that section. It just doesn't feel good. And there are some more blatant shooters that also are like. I've seen my fair share of Greater Jake streams and Frostball streams where those guys are flying around the map shooting Parasite. It's hilarious at times, but you know, it's not fun for the overall experience of the game, and that's what I'm here for. You know, it's just too jarring. It's essentially just too jarring for me. I will say, we'll give them a positive here again. Hearing that they are going to focus on it, I believe they said that. So the checkmate's good. I don't care about the matchmaking improvements unless this is anti-cheat. I believe somewhere in here they talk about improving upon their anti-cheat, and that's what I'm happy for. Improve upon that. Get me more consistent feel for most of the games, and I'll feel better about playing it. That's what I want. That's why I want to love Destiny PvP. But let's talk about the rest of the stuff that they brought up that they've done for us. Alright? We've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. These include the launch of the competitive division, multiple new game modes, a revamp of Trials of Osiris, a new competitive and Trials reward, fire team matchmaking improvements, new rotator playlists, PvP specific weapon tuning, several quality of life improvements, and more. Let's talk about that. Also, just so everyone knows, I don't bring up maps here. Except for the end where we talk about maps. I will say right now, and I might say it again later, more maps are great. More maps are always welcome. More maps are new content. We pay them. They should give us maps regardless. That's my stance on it. I don't think this is too much to ask for. But let's break this down. Let's start with the competitive division. This is where the first hot take comes in. I'm pretty sure this was hyped for that PvP community, but I believe it was swiftly met with people figuring out that you could just leave and not be penalized, you know, for their rank. So that Ascendant, gleaming gold star title became commonplace. And I think for the most part that the comp division was well received. This is something they actually did, so this again a thumbs up for them for sure. But the problem is that Destiny has not really had any kind of like ELO or MMR system before that's known to the public. Like they have their hidden one for sure, but not that's one that's like presented to everyone. And so it's hard to build this up when you don't go like all out into it. Like they're not focusing most of the game around this anymore. Well, really in general, it's just something that they added. They added MMR, but the general player base pretty much doesn't care already. If they don't care, it's not going to do anything if you just add a number. Like, a lot of people do like to see number go up, but if I'm not already engaging PvP, adding a competitive division doesn't bring me into the PvP because now I can be ranked. That's visible to other people now. That won't bring me into PvP in and of itself. All you did was make it so that the real PvP fans can rate themselves, which is great. Again, I'm happy. I'm happy for them if that's something that they want to engage in. It's also something when a game has so much PvE available first, like WoW and Destiny are comparable in this regard. They both offer that ranking system, and their PvE community is so niche that there's basically no focus on it. There's the people in the PvP community that care, but everyone else is like, oh great, cool, you're a gladiator. Yeah, that mount looks alright. It looks good. It looks like a good mount. That's really cool. Or in my circumstance here, since I'm so out of touch with the PvP stuff, like, hey, what's that emblem from? It looks pretty deep. What's the emblem from? Oh, this is the Ascendant emblem. Ah, sick. Cool. You're good at PvP. Nice. Like that's how that is going over. You know, it's not something that they focus on. Essentially, what I'm saying. So games like League of Legends, Valorant, CSGO, and COD all have their entire game focused around this MMR. They have their casual lobbies, a lot of people like it, but when it comes down to business, they have these super sweaty versions of the mode where League of Legends became known as one of the most toxic games in the world because of a ranked division. Because people cared so much that they were furious with their teammates for either not being good, not making a similar decision that they thought was a good decision, the works. And so, your border, your avatar, your skins, that it allows everyone to show off. Like, when I bust into that normal game and I got the diamond border around my character, and I got the skin for being, top tier in League. I think it's like gold. That's not really top tier. But if they have other skins that were like that could be something they could look into on a League of Legends video. But when you bust in and you have that diamond border, they're like, holy shit, that fucking thing looks cool. That looks so awesome. Well, that's what these games focus on. Their game is that I'm good at this game and I get to show it off. For Destiny 2, I'd have to ask someone about that. And we're going to get into Trials of Osiris because I believe Trials does this much better than a comp mode has done. Because the comp mode has no backing to it. There's, I guess history is a good way to say it, but there's no oomph to it. There's nothing there. It's not giving me something that it's well known, and we're going to talk about that in Trials. So I just want to say, claps, you guys added a ranking system, and I'm happy for those players that love being in that ranked mode. But again, I heard some other takes where they're ending up with not the right teammates on their team, so, like I said, claps for them. The next one. Multiple new game modes. I don't even know what these are, to be honest. If they're talking about the new ones that they added, they're adding now, which we can scroll down, which are Checkmate and Relic. That's good. More game modes, more content for sure. This one, Checkmate, seems really interesting, and I will probably test it out. I'm a big fan of something like this. I don't really care about Relic at all. I'll agree with Fallout and say you'll probably play it once or twice, think it's neat, and go, I don't really think I can be bothered here. So you'll have to let me know in the comments below if they've added any new game modes other than the ones that they have brought back that they have already removed, which is not new content. No matter how much you think it is not new content. They're just giving you back what you already had. So, multiple new game modes, thumbs down. I don't think they did. A revamp of Trials of Osiris. Yes, I will give them this one. Absolutely. Absolutely. They definitely revamped the mode. It is definitely, their pinnacle PvP content. This is where the sweats go to play. They literally released something called the Competitive Division, and that doesn't even hold a candle to Trials of Osiris. Do you want to know why? Because Trials of Osiris has been baked into the Destiny universe. It is fully developed. People know what this is. They know exactly what they're getting and what other people can see when it comes to Trials of Osiris. That's why Trials of it's not because it's on the weekend and it's a rare occasion and comp is available all the time. It's none of those reasons. Trials of Osiris is well known for, you were able to do a thing really well and it rewarded you with stuff that looks very specific towards that activity and it looks good. Hey, I'm good at PvP. I wear my Trials of Osiris stuff proudly is what I get from this mode. This makes me wonder, what's the comp division even doing for the game? If this is where they put that focus on it, why would you bring up the competitive division if you're going to also bring up Trials in the same sentence? To me, it's night and day. Trials is the clear winner on where they actually care about it. It's got the rewards, the armor, the emblems that all have that notoriety that I was just talking about. And if you're a Destiny player, you know exactly where that armor came from. That eye symbol, it's a classic look. It shows exactly where it came from. We know exactly what you had to do to get certain armor sets, and we know why it's glowing. We know everything about it. And if someone is a brand new player and they're like, oh, how did you get that? Oh, I played Trials of Osiris. If they take a second to search Trials of Osiris, they can see exactly what that achievement means to them. There's no asking, oh hey, where'd you get that? That's pretty cool looking emblem. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm Ascendant in it. Oh cool, Ascendant, yeah. You're like the top player in the game. Dope, 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 dope. Like that's pretty much the vibe I get from the efforts that they put into each of these areas. And so yes, absolutely, I like the rewards that the game mode has to offer. I like the guns. I like the armor feels. It feels unique to that style because of that symbol, and it's built into the Destiny lore, and I love that. Fireteam matchmaking improvements. I skipped this one because we kind of talked about both of them. Fireteam matchmaking improvements. I got nothing. Does anything feel different for my PvP players out there? You know, I don't play often enough to even know if this is true. Not by the feeling of the games, so I don't play enough to even get that feeling. So from what I hear, it's still a disaster, regardless of if they're making changes. I think I've heard several other places where they're not sure that when they say a change has been made, if it's even been made. Next one. New rotator playlists. This is a fun one for me. New rotator playlist. I love this, right? Why? Why is it a rotator? Every other game on the market lets me pick what game mode I want to play. Why is it rotating? Let me play what I want to play. That's what I have to say about that. PvP specific weapon tuning. Yes, this is a positive, but also at the same time, this is a neutral. Because, of course, PvP specific weapon tuning, it doesn't make sense. It should be PvP specific. No game should ever try to have a single sandbox for both PvE and PvP. They don't mesh well together. Here we go. The padding of numbers. Severe quality of life improvements and more. I believe that these are just to pad the numbers in this list and make it seem like they've done something more for you. If you can list some of these quality of life improvements for specific PvP, let me know. I'd love to hear about them. I don't believe that's true. I don't think they've done any quality of life improvements here other than, you know, like working on anti-cheat and stuff like that, which isn't quality of life per se. It's just they did their job. And more is, list more and more. Like, I don't know. You should end on a definitive note. If you can't list what you've done for us, maybe you don't also know what you've done for us when it comes to PvP. But, all in all, if I was a PvP player, I would already be playing a different game. Which I am, basically. Destiny has some of the best feeling gunplay in the entire industry, and I would rather my own time, value it more. I would value my own time more and invest in other games that suit my interests better. If I wanted to be, competitive, then I would be playing games like Valorant, CS:GO. I believe Siege is even more competitive than Destiny. Like any other games that has an esports tied to it. If I wanted to be more casual, I'd honestly probably just go play the Master Chief Collection and play like Halo 2 or Halo 3 because it gives me a sense of like a full complete game. Maybe Apex Legends or Call of Duty for some of those arena shooters. But I want to end with this, and I'm going to read this one verbatim. While I am not a top-end PvP player, I do play a ton of games. I honestly don't believe that a new map are what Destiny PvP players need. If you get a new map, it's the same shit, different location, and while it will be fun for a while, it's not going to get new players into the mode. It's not going to be building up new conversations. It's not going to be giving you something unique and better and enhancing the gameplay that you are currently having. And so the new maps I think are a standard. I think they should just be delivering new maps. Right? This is not something that you should be begging for. This is not something that you should be, asking for completely. I believe that this is something that they have misled the community on, and I respect them for saying we're basically not going to deliver you new maps, except in this very specific way. But I also don't believe that adding a new map is going to revolutionize Destiny PvP. I think that Destiny PvP needs an identity. And you might hate that I compare it to Gambit, but I feel like it needs an identity much like Gambit needs an identity. Especially in the Destiny universe, like Trials of Osiris has. Something that will bring people to the mode, not for just the rewards, but because they love that gameplay, that feeling. When you win like a 1v1 or 2 or 3, And I feel like most players in this mode are lacking. It's lacking that identity that the developers want for you. Okay, moving on to the next section here. Not Vanguard, Gambit. Didn't even need to read the Vanguard section. What this section is now stating us is there is no Gambit support. I was sad about this one. I like Gambit. I've never had that violent, like, retching reaction that others seem to have for this game mode. Maybe because, I see it as like a type of party game. Maybe it just feels like it's a funny mode for me. I kind of find it hilarious. Lots of mobs spawn in, you delete them, and either one of two things happens. You pick up the motes and you bank them, or an invader shows up and you lose all your motes. It's not like super rocket science. There are a lot of strategies that can go into it, but at the end of the day, if you're like, oh, I gotta bank these motes and I'm invested in it, and I need to get this challenge done, and if I get my motes lost, it takes away from my exotic challenge, or I don't get them dunked for this, and then I have to do another game, and I already don't want to do a game. It's just, it's not as serious as I think a lot of people are making it out to be. The game mode is what it is, and I think that if you stop trying to make Gambit feel like it's competitive PvP, then maybe you might have a bit more fun with it. This is not a video for me to try to convince you that Gambit is good. I'm just letting you know how I feel about it, personally. And now that everyone gets power ammo, it's like you literally just have to pay attention for a few seconds when that invader screen comes up, check the couple spawns, deal with the invader, and go back to playing your game. I do agree with this community sentiment that they should probably just let it be. I'm sad to see that they don't plan on innovating and updating it, but at the end of the day, it seems like the community is over whatever this game mode is supposed to be. And I think that it's time for Bungie to make the decision as the IP holder of this entire franchise what they should do with it. This is a rip the band-aid off situation for Gambit. Is it staying? Is it leaving? Are you actually not going to touch it? How do you feel about that? What is my purpose? What is the purpose for this mode in the game now? Which leads me on to my next point. Rewards. This is going to be another hot topic. I know a lot of people like the mixing and matching, and it brings them to each game mode, and it freshens up their playtime experience, however you want to call it. But rewards are a bit spicy here. And the specific point I want to discuss is a reward being the only, keyword being only, reason to do an activity. Yeah, let's dive into it. I know that there are a lot of D2 players and gamers in general that are very reward driven. I'm definitely one of the most reward driven. If I don't feel like I'm being rewarded in some type of way, then I will probably not do your content. Whether that reward is a challenge that I can overcome, or an actual reward, an actual piece of gear, loot to better my character, then, or something that's like self-satisfying like PvP, then, I want to do them for those reasons. But I feel like the biggest problem in Destiny is a cross-section of rewards. Sometimes we put the best PvE guns in PvP, sometimes we put the best PvP guns in PvE, and what this does is it brings people who aren't trying to interact with that game mode into that mode. And this pretty much makes those people unhappy. This is not a rant about me being a PvE focused player, complaining about going into PvP. Let's put it that way. We're going to get to the PvE section, and you're going to see how these specific changes make me very upset about the PvE side of things in general. So, buckle up and hold on for that one. I will try to segment out them so you can see PvP, Gambit, and PvE. But let's continue our discussion about rewards being the only reason to do an activity. If you put the best PvE reward in PvP, then I will go into your playlist. Absolutely. I will go into accomplish whatever task that is, because I want that item, that gun, that piece of armor, that mod to do the best I can in PvE because that is where I like to play the game. The problem is, it's not a task like go in PvP and be good at it, because that's not a measurable metric. You can't measure me on if I'm being good, because then you're comparing me to my peers in that game, and then that is a way more complex system that Bungie's willing to put into PvP for one thing, and on top of that, it's a very complex thing to program in general. So most of the time, you're left with, it's like complete X amount of games, win X amount of matches, kill X amount of things with this specific thing, or just kill things in general with this type of ability, gun, etc. And so what this does is provide a very interesting dynamic for the entire player base in those modes, because now you have a great reward. People who are not going to normally be there are going to influence how those game modes are played now. So if it's like complete X matches, you have people not participating in those matches now. Yeah, I'm gonna admit it. I played comp for some guns, some rewards, and played is a strong word, let's just say. On top of that, those people that are in there playing those matches are probably AFK watching Netflix. Let's be honest. And it does not. What this does is it doesn't incentivize them to actually play the game. It's not incentivizing their gameplay. It's incentivizing player count when it comes to completing those matches. If it's win X number of games or get number of kills, then you have this frustrated player that is now, they're building up this frustration. I want this reward. Not need. Need is a strong word. You can go into most PvE stuff with like rags and do fine. But now they have to go into this match, right? So they're going to go into PvP. They're going to be frustrated because they have to go in there and they don't want to be in there, or vice versa, right? This is not just a one-way street. If you don't want to PvE ever, you could be frustrated for going into PvE. It's fine. But in my example, this player is now frustrated going into PvP. They're now engaging with it, and they're upset that they're in there in the first place. And now they have to perform. Now they have to win a match or win a game. They have to get a number of kills with a specific thing. So like something like getting kills with fighting line might be very frustrating. Or not fighting line, but like a grenade launcher for something specific might be very frustrating. And then that translates into a negative sentiment for this player, and then that translates into apathy. So I believe that there are a reason that some of the best games for these genres, in general, when it comes to like PvP versus PvE, for your content, you're getting rewarded for the content that you're completing. I don't think it's a flawless system, but I can say that WoW PvP is a great example of this. You play some PvP in WoW, and the flaw is that you start off with no gear for PvP, and you need that gear to be good at PvP. But if you push through that because this is something that you decided that you want to do, then you get your gear, and you're now able to go toe-to-toe with those players. And you get to show your skill through that gameplay that you had, and you might have learned some things too, like a cool strategy of how to capture a flag, how to stay hidden, maybe how to survive without that proper gear. So now your survivability is through the roof because you were living before, but now you can like really live because you take significantly less damage. And it's like a one-track PvP reward system. You're playing PvP to get the PvP gear so that you can keep playing PvP. It's a flawed barrier to entry with a large payoff when you say that kind of dedicated route. And I will end this off by saying I get that players want to be rewarded, but this type of incentivization to get a player count up doesn't actually boost the gameplay in those game modes. It doesn't help grow overall. It's not an organic growth. You might get like one or two people with that reward structure like, hey, I had some good time, let me, that's really good. But overall, if those players didn't want to be there, they're going to be double resistant on the next time you have a good thing. The next time, Aztecross or Data or saying, you need this weapon. This weapon is so good, but they'll never say that you need it, but they'll say that this weapon is so good. Or Aztecross be like, it's meta! We love that. But essentially, They're going to be double resistance for that next meta level reward. And then eventually they're going to just grow apathy for your entire reward system in general when it comes to that. They're not going to touch that game mode. Okay, moving on to the next set here. Armor set rewards. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. This is where we start to draw conclusions from the information that the game developers have decided to give us. When you say that you are over-delivering for 9 armor sets, that's one set per class for these seasonal things. So we're talking 9 armor sets for an individual mode for a yearly expansion. 12 months. 12 long, ruling, contentless months. We get a raid and dungeon. Let me not over dramatize this. But we are not asking for the moon here. This is ridiculous that you can pump out X amount of armor per season, put it in the cash shop, but you can't once a year release a few new things. On the grounds and excuse alone that nobody uses the armor and nobody uses it as transmog anyways. Well, yeah, of course they don't. Why would I use it as armor if I'm doing raids and stuff that could use raid mods, which I never do, but they could, that also look better for some of the harder content. Maybe I'm a PvP player and I want to use Trials gear instead of the regular reward that you gave me because people know what Trials is. And they don't know where this random armor set is. And then the other fact is the cash shop. You're pumping out several sets of armor for us to pay for, but you can't give us one set per playlist activity in 12 months? I mean, like, you just flat out said we don't want to dedicate literally anything to it. I don't want to turn the horn around so it's facing the other direction and then call it a new armor set. That's a little excessive. That's not good. It is not a good look. It is not a good look at all. And so this has me thinking a lot about what they are saying by not saying it. And we're going to get into that with the PvE stuff here. Before we go too hard into this, I'm going to talk about some positives. I'm going to give Bungie some props here. We're just going to read it verbatim. Most of the raid content is peak Destiny. Their raids are so fucking good. I love teaching new people. I love getting in there with my crew and speed running it. As you saw, we got some fast runs on Deep Zone. I love the music, the mechanics, and I love that feeling when you're making waves to destroy these like massive forces in the Destiny lore. They really do a good job of just really putting me in the world and make me feel like I'm making an impact here. Except for like one raid, but we'll get to that one. You know, we're basically doing something that nobody thought would be possible inside the game. Not like outside. Of course, we all thought it would be possible. We're gamers. But in the game, the dungeons have that same feeling, except for its wonder of the world kind of feeling. They don't have like universe-changing lore in them, but they have some really like fill-in-the-gap content that I wish more of the story was brought to our face on. And you know, they have smaller sections of that lore that do make you feel mesmerized and immersed into the game, and I love that. I also love the challenges for some of the hard content that Destiny brings. I am a fan of contest mode. I am a fan of power-capped activities. I like to min-max routes in Master Lost sectors. I like to min-max my crew's build for Grandmaster Nightfalls of what I would like for a specific Nightfall. Asking them to put on specific things because we can move it along and really just take anyone through that content with certain setups. And I do also like the triumphs and challenges for raids and dungeons. Now that being said, like I said, you might notice that we're going to skip over this completely. This has nothing to do with what I want to talk about. This is the statement that is quickly gaining quickly raising my apathy bar for Destiny 2. What they're saying here is that they are putting their PvE content on such a pedestal that I am now going to go analyze that pedestal. What are they really giving us when it comes to PvE? Well, the way I see it is this statement is painting an illusion that PvE content that is being delivered currently is spectacular. What they're telling me with this statement is that they believe they are not only delivering on-brand content, but they are exceeding at doing it so. They are telling me that their PvE content is revolutionary in all of gaming. And you may think I may be drawing it to a higher conclusion, but this sentence and using it twice for what you have defined as your core game modes, and you are saying you can't work on those game modes because one of them is more important than the others, then we are now at that level. You have hyped this up, not me. This is what you are saying by not saying it. Or by saying these words, I guess you could say. And so let's break it down. They give us a little list here as well, because they like these comma-driven sections, I guess. So we'll start with new story. Got a couple things here. The Lightfall story was a failure. Flat out failure, fell right on its face. I don't think I need to say more about it. It almost felt like I was playing a different game, for the most part. I've never the futuristic world of retroactiveness, and it felt pretty empty, pretty much. I feel like I was riding my Sparrow through most of their world. Listening to their campaign, I was really excited to see what a new planet might be, and then I got this place, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I am excited for this. And then they drew out the Lightfall campaign with almost no conclusion. We killed Callus again. Yay. The witness won regardless, okay, without any hindrance to their plan. And if there was any juicy lore tidbits that were being slowly revealed, you would not know it because it was hidden somewhere else that you probably couldn't see off map, or you had to read a lore entry for, or you had to read a specific gun. It's a nightmare. So, moving on from there, I just want to compare it to one thing that is literally Bungie's content. Do you know why Halo was great for its campaign? It's because it was a complete cinematic experience, and I knew exactly what was going on through the missions and the objectives for each of the individual levels, and through the cutscenes that kind of glued everything together. They told me full information, and it was right there immersed along the way through the entire journey. And Lightfall has fell flat on its face doing that. The next thing, they talk about exotic missions content, but really the new story kind of adds one more bit here. The Rooted Nightmares raid is probably, so one-dimensional, except for that third encounter, that it's just a joke of a raid. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, one person doing one mechanic and everyone else killing ads, and then the next fight, two people are doing mechanics and then everyone else is killing ads. That is not what a raid is in general. You have people literally just killing ads and standing in a place. I mean, you could summarize everything but that is literally what this one is. Like, there's not oracles spawning, and like I could shoot all the oracles on that fight alone, but there's no team communication there. There's one dude talking to another dude, and we've seen people solo the entire raid. I've personally duoed it with one of my friends in my clan, and it's just, I'm not here to make enemies, and I'm not here to take away anyone else's accomplishment. I don't care about that at all. Good for you for doing whatever you've done, but it's just a terrible raid. The third encounter is pretty much the only good fight, and it feels like that wasn't even designed for this raid. Everything else seems like it ties in, but that third encounter came out of left field, basically. Okay. The story. We're still here. Seasonal activities are okay at best. We're drip fed this content. You know, the community gave lots of praise for Deep Dive, this like roguelike thing, but like the builds that I have, I don't need any. If I have any extra modifiers, it just makes those builds absolutely insane when it comes to like ability spam and ability use. So whether I'm support with Strand, or I'm Arc, or I'm Solar doing damage, like everything is customized to be both ad clear and boss damage for the most part. And if it can't be both, it's, you know, we have different variations so that you can use a specific one of it. And so, you know, I didn't play very much of Deep Dive. I played 2 things of it, and 2 weeks of it. Sorry, things is not a good 2 weeks of it. And I thought it was meh. I thought it was interesting. They had a little secret mechanic, and that was pretty cool because Destiny is known for having those secrets. But I completed the entire season within that first week. I got every single red border weapon from the season, every single red border from Last Wish. I even got the bug out bag that I was looking for with subsistence incandescence because I think that gun is going to be better than Callus Mini Tool. I know, quote me on it, but crucify me if you have to. Subsistence is a much better perk than literally any other perk that your Callus Mini Tool can get. Don't at me. The next thing here is that the drip fed activities, they hurt me so much. I cannot stand having this drip fed content to me. I know it keeps players coming back week over week, but there comes a point where instead of coming back, you just stop. You just stop coming back. You know, there's talk about like the weekly story mission is like a few moments of your time in your play session, and then you're supposed to just wait until the next one comes out next week. Well, my advice is just wait till it's done, and then you can do it all at once as a full play session for yourself. Even if you have to split it up into multiple ones, if you only have a few moments a day to play a video game. But that's typically like what I would recommend for like a TV show, because that's what this is. They're releasing episode by episode for you each week so that you come back the next week. But like at the same time, I don't care. And the reason I also don't care is because any lore creator is going to do it 100 times better than Bungie's going to do it, and I don't know why. So people like Mylan Games or My Name is Bife are going to do a infinitely better job than Bungie will ever do. I mean, like, My Name is Bife's video that is hours long explaining the Destiny universe is probably one of the best videos out there when it comes to Destiny content. And I mean this because it's basically a graphic novel that he has images on for, but for the most part, he just does a consistently good job explaining everything for you beat by beat in a cohesive manner. And so that is something that I would just recommend doing that instead. You know, honestly, like, if you're not going to give me anything for doing your story content, I'm just going to let Bife do it for me, or I'll let Mylan Games do it for me. So we're still on story here. I might have skipped my exotic mission content one. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. We get to the rotator. We get to the rotator last. I just forgot where I wrote it in. So we're on strikes now, because strikes are part of how they deliver the story content for you. I think that the strike playlist is awful. Because you can't do it alone, and it just doesn't have enough enemies if I have more than just myself there, pretty much. On that grounds alone, I think it's awful. It doesn't offer any challenge. It's not there for any type of rewards overall, and we're gonna dive into that here. You know, some of my builds are so strong that without any modifiers present, if they removed literally every one of them, I could throw one grenade and I can melee a few times, and then if I maybe they release more enemies, and then I can immediately throw another grenade because that's how my builds work, and then I can just decimate the whole thing without firing my gun a single time, like in under a minute. Like, I'm not joking. I've done this several times. I was doing solo Master Lost sectors in 3 minutes. depending on the specific one. That's a very like niche thing, but you know, the fact that I can get 3 of me in a strike playlist, we'd be like, well, what's going? Oh, he's doing it. All right, we'll just follow this guy. The rewards can literally be like 3 or 4 legendary shards, and it's like, this makes me want to barf. Honestly, like it's just so terrible. You know, like what are you actually giving me for investing time in that strike playlist? So hopefully, the one thing that they did say about Vanguard down here is that they're going to work on those rewards and like the system that people will be playing and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that does help things. But you know, for the going back to the PvE rewards, because again, remember they are telling us that their PvE is so good they can't do literally anything else. I get no reward for this. I don't even get a world loot pool. That's absolutely completely random. I barely get any Vanguard rewards, if any at all. You know, it's absolutely pathetic. If they refuse to even give me a guaranteed Vanguard drop, they act like it's going to break the game every single time. Like, oh no, you're going to either get a really good gun or you're going to get 4 legendary shards. The end of Destiny as we know it. I've already mentioned this before, but I have a positive feeling towards Grandmasters. As you saw here with Jam Report, we basically turned it into a farming fest. Depending on which one we are farming, 12 minutes here, 13 minutes here, 17 minutes for Glasswave, relatively fast. You know, it's not something that I would say deserves a whole ton of praise, but like I said, I enjoy it for myself. A lot of people don't enjoy being 1 or 2 shot, which I had. If you saw my Diablo 4 video, you'll notice that I also don't like being 1 shot, but this challenge is just about right with a few bullets, especially with how tanky we got. So, the next thing, again, we're still on new story content that are being, because raids and dungeons are part of those new stories. I have another hot take for you guys. I think the new dungeon is dreadful. I think that story-wise, it's very rich, very good, but there are 2 key factors that I absolutely hate. And I've done it solo. Couldn't be bothered to go back and do it solo flawless, by the way, which, as you saw, I have done previously with other dungeons, but I couldn't be bothered with this one. So, I can do the mechanics perfect now. I know them by heart in my head. I've made a guide for them as well. Not on the channel, or any channel. I don't have more than one. But I have an entire guide compendium for my clan that I've put together. So it's not a matter of that. But I'm still trying to figure out why the bosses have like this 600,000 plus regenerating shield that pigeonholes my entire build revolving around Arbalest, or then maybe swapping off of it mid-transition. I don't know. You put the solution in the game, I use the solution, and, I'm hoping that that's not a bug. People were speculating that might be a bug, but I'm hoping it's not, because in my eyes, it's the only real way to do those encounters currently. And so the dungeon loses a lot of points. You could have just simply not had the shield, and then I could have opened up my build, and I could have a lot more fun with it. I think the traversal sections is, it's just a justification of how they could monetize this mechanic for Season of the Deep or the dungeon itself. Whichever way it went, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's all it was for. I don't like the length at which they have us travels in these newer content. It feels like fluff. It feels like fluff for the fluff. Like, I'm not joking. I like how immersed I feel in some of these locations, but the Root of Nightmares run is the longest run in all of Destiny raids between bosses, and then this new dungeon, is also now the longest run between them. I swear, I'm running for what seems like a week, and then I get to the next boss and I'm like exhausted from like holding W. It's ridiculous, and I'm about to hold W some more. And so the traversal, it's just too damn long. It really is. For the third boss, my only gripe is make the deep sight so it doesn't make me stand still when I activate it, or make everything else do just a smidge less damage. I feel like the fact that you have to like clear the entire room and then touch the deep sight before your rune expires or you die, it's all very too specific. Just a smidge too specific for me. Just make it so you don't keep moving. Other than that, I'm going to give it some praise. The second boss and the third boss mechanics, thumbs up, very fun. The rewards are meh for that dungeon, including the trace rifle. I also think that is a very mid trace rifle. Last thing for the story. So, fishing. Why? It's definitely not what my action-packed space magic first-person shooter needed. It definitely was not begging them to slow my gameplay down to a screeching halt where I'm literally hitting one button. You know, and for me to read these comments, if it comes off of the trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidth to work that contributes to a variety of experience, you know, I'm like, you're out of your mind. You're absolutely out of your mind if I would rather have a new PvP map so those guys and gals are taken care of, or if I would rather have fishing. You're out of your fucking mind if you think I wanted fishing in my game. I would just play a fishing game. Like, you can't say I can't do all these other things when fishing is the content you're delivering. Get the fuck out of here with that. Are you kidding me? And this brings me on to the rest of this paragraph here. So, if PvE is so much of the content that players hold so dear, I say this with love, and I say this for literally every single Destiny 2 player out there, and even Destiny player if you've played back then. Give me my fucking content that I paid for. It's sitting in the Destiny vault. We paid for it with real money, not fake money, not gems, real US dollars, whatever your local currency is. Give us that fucking content back. It's absolutely ridiculous. If it's so high valued, give us what we paid for, please. I can't tell you the number of times where a new player comes in, they have no idea what to do, and it's because you removed half the game, and even you don't know how to deliver a new player experience now because you removed what you've built into a new player experience. It's completely asinine to me, and I've lost all sympathy for it. You did this to yourself. You literally did this to yourself. And so, it brings us to that next point here that we've been dragging out here. Exotic mission content. So, let's talk about these in terms of this fancy-dancy content that they're delivering for PvE people. We currently have one active. We're getting a new rotator. That's cool. But let's talk about what this is going to do for the game. These activities are very specific sets of activities. There are not people that are asking to play these missions over and over and over again on repeat because they love these missions. They're not. It's just not. That's not reality for them. They have a feeling of nostalgia. They want to go back to a time when they had that discovery of how to do something for the first time. That's what they want. And so they're fun to figure out for the first time. You go back with a guide to get all the secrets, and then you finish getting the exotic gun in that same time. And then the third time you go back on the harder difficulty for the catalyst. You did it 3 times. Woo! Unless this is some type of fantastical world loot pool loot source, I'm confident that this is not something myself or many players are going to be repeating. Because quite frankly, the only reason why we want these missions back is to get the exotic gun. If you gave us the exotic gun another way to get them, we wouldn't need those missions back. Now, I still stand by my first point. Give me back the content that I paid for. So give us all that back. Yes, absolutely keep doing that. But what I'm saying here is, you're saying that you can't work on other things because you are now delivering on a rotator of exotic mission content back to us, which you have already removed from the game. So you spend resources to remove it, now you're spending resources to re-add it to the game, now you're spending resources to put it into a rotator so that it rotates every week so that we can get our guns back that everyone is asking you for. This is a lot of resources being used for what you have already put resources into the game for. Don't punish us because you don't know how to run your game and you have no vision of what a complete game looks like for Destiny in and of itself. You have hardware limitations, you have software limitations, and you are taking it out on the players because of it instead of trying to invest in a product that has earned you a massive stake, I guess I should say, of all of video gaming. And so, because I'm confident that we're not going to be playing these games, I feel like this is a waste of resources. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I will say, if this is such a problem, then you should have a way for us to choose what I download. If you're worried about the old consoles or the file size, whatever it ends up being, COD literally did it before you Call of Duty, where before they downsized it, they let you choose which parts of the game you wanted to download, so you didn't have such a massive file size investment. The only problem I can see here with picking and choosing what we can download and play is it has to be available because Destiny is already online, and you would have to invest in the resources for your servers to be able to handle those extra sections of bandwidth, which I don't see that being a problem because you should be using real servers that can handle large file size when the server should only be running that game itself. Um, like I said, the only thing that I have for this is a growing sense of apathy, and all I know is that you remove the content, and that is the specific reason why we want the exotic missions back so that we can get the guns and get the rewards from them. But like I said before, now we've wasted all of these resources that you are now saying impacts all of these other places of the game because you've already spent the resources to remove it. It's very disappointing. I feel like a disappointed dad. I don't have any kids. 4 activities that make up the foundation of each season. We talked about this. Seasonal content is drip fed. It lasts for a few weeks. It takes up like a couple hours at most. I would say 4 hours at most, depending on the depth of it. Nobody played salvage. Everyone played deep dive loved it. There was a whole controversy of people activating the special deep dive mode or whatever. For the most part, this is no one's like, oh my gosh, I got to keep playing the seasonal activity all the time once they're done with what they have, want to get the rewards for. So this is just a moot point. New destinations. Oh boy, new destinations. Let's be real. I'm being real in this entire video. Let's be even more real here. Destinations are literally transversal purpose to get to the content that I actually want. It's for you to showcase a way of what your art team is able to do and try to immerse me in that location. But this is not Destiny 2 Year 1, where I'm going there for public events to farm for exotics or whatever. You can't fool me with this one. Give us the old destinations back just so we have a complete playing experience. But as when it comes to making a new destination, make a new destination because you're giving us a new story, or you're adding depth to the universe or something. I don't need a new destination because you feel like you need to give us a new destination. I'm not going to load into Mars or Nessus or the moon because I want to run around there. I'm going to go into those places to do the missions, the story that you've given us to do. So if that's what it's all encapsulating, the story and new destinations are on one point, and they are now also artificially inflating their list here. Yet again, they're doing this. And if they want to be like that, we need to actually analyze these things with a level head and have an understanding. And so, I do want to say the Witch Queen was fantastic. It delivered on those missions. It delivered a story like the good old Halo days. I feel like it had that full cinematic experience. I was in the action. I was informed through those missions and cutscenes, like I mentioned, for that Halo comment. But let's talk about how they deliver the story for a second. And I mean, I want to start this off that there are no shots being fired at my lore gurus out there. I just want to specifically state that the average player or players that invest in a game, a video game, are not logging in to load up the lore section of these screens. They're not loading up the game to read the lore content or look for the lore thing specifically in the world. They're loading up the game to play something that they know and have actual playing time in there, especially those people that have few or limited game time. So with this statement, let's talk. It's about like they're pretending that they don't scatter the lore into every item into the game, and you have to read so many different screens and lore books just to get an understanding of something that is vital. And this gets missed by so many people. We have amazing, talented people dissecting the lore for those gameplay Andes like myself, so that we can understand it better to feel more immersed. But I can tell you that I don't load up the game to sit there and read. I don't load up the game because I want to uh, find lores and piece by piece connect things. That's not why I play video games. Tell me the story in front of my face. I could tell you for sure that those people that claim that they only have like 1 or 2 hours a day, they're not loading up the game for that as well. So let's not sit here and pretend that you couldn't like remove half of that stuff and just put it face value for you. Again, no shots fired at my lore gurus. Shout out to them. They are fantastic at what they do. And my final point here, with these 3 points actually discussed, what this statement is saying to me is that Bungie isn't developing this game anymore. Because they're stating we can't do X because we need to focus on Y, and Y has some glaring problems that it's clear that they're not actually getting that time of day either. What this is corporate sleight of hand. It's a magician trying to convince you that it's real magic, and I'm not buying it. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Post-production jacket coming here for you. I do want to have a discussion about this. So hopefully, if you've watched this video, if you've watched my thoughts, I want to hear your thoughts about it. I'm very passionate about this game. I was going to be very passionate about Diablo 4. And quite frankly, overall, we're getting to a state of game developers shoveling what they think is gold, but it's gold-plated shit down our throats. And I want to start a discussion. I want everyone that watches this video, if you can muster the time and energy, leave me some feedback. Leave Bungie some feedback in my comment section. Share the video, not for my enjoyment, but for your enjoyment, so that we can all start working together to get these people back on the right track. We all want a better video game, and that's why we're here. That's why you're watching this video. That's why you watched Across's video and every other video that is imaginable. Dados, Fallout. I think I went out of my way to search for people I didn't know made Destiny content to see their opinion on this, and I want your opinion too. Thank you.